I definitely got more than 5. Guilty. Welcome to my studio. I hope you're good. So today we are going to be looking at a brand new art supply. I'm so excited because I love gouache and I do like acrylic now. I mean, I've never used it before, but anyway, if you put them together, you get acrylic gouache. Now I'm using today the Holbein acrylic gouache, if it decides to focus. So I'm going to do some swatches, see what this can do, and hopefully at the end of this I'll make some artwork. But yeah, let's do it. And I definitely got more than 5. Guilty. When I first opened this, I noticed it was a little bit watery than expected, but it was really nice. The colours were so bright and the texture of this was really velvety. And I also noticed that the colours actually matched the colours on the paint tube, which was so helpful. Therefore, you actually know what you're going to get, and it dries the same as well. So I got to swatching all of the colours I had, and I like to use the end pages of my current sketchbook just so they look nice, and also then I can keep referring back to the colours I want so I know exactly how they are going to dry. Now we've got some swatches and done our tests. I really love how the colour looks opaque and you can work on top of it. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to go down the collage route and just kind of cut it up, work on top of it and see what I can do. But yeah, I'm going to take you through the process. First things first, I'm going to need to do a sketch. So for that, I'm going to use my trusty sketchbook, which I've really gotten into using lately, and my pencil. Let's do it. Let's get sketching. Okay, so personally, I think it's an unwritten rule that you have to have a cup of tea to sketch. But anyway, so my idea is a beachy kind of rock pool theme, just because I have fallen in love with the blue that's in this lovely set. Now, the very first set that I got is the Rebecca Green inspired colours by Holbein. I'll put them here. And as you can see, this colour palette is just absolutely delicious. I mean, Rebecca Green is an amazing illustrator and has done some incredible children's books. So it's no surprise that she came up with this wonderful colour palette for Holbein. And as you can see, when I get a colour palette, I also kind of get all the different media that I'm hoping to use in that project out, like the pencils, just so I can see the good variety and get a feel for the materials. And also then I can test them on different parts. And I can do swatches as I go, because sometimes it can be quite hard to get your whole set of paints out when you just want to test one little colour or you're on the move. So I kept just sketching away. I had kind of no foolproof design plans. It was just a case of drawing a pool and adding some fun creatures around. Now, talking of which, this is my default crab. Let's call him Colin. So anytime that I draw some sort of by the sea or any crab really, he will be drawn and he will probably be happy or really grumpy. There is just no in between with Colin. You get what you get. So I actually took this page to the park and off camera finished it whilst my children played, and it was really fun. I worked on kind of the composition, but I realised that I drew the girl far too big, but I didn't actually take a rubber. So it was what it was, and then I did some colour swatching just so I knew what colours I needed to mix. So now we've got our sketch, let's get right into cutting and sticking and just experimenting with this material, see how it works and just see what we can do. Let's do it. So where in my sketch I did the person too big for the rock pool, I decided to focus on the character first, get her nailed down, get the size of her down, and then go into the details and get the rock pool done. But it's a lot harder drawing something the second time. I swear the amount of times I had to draw, rub out and redraw is a nightmare. You know, when you draw something the first time, you really like it, and you try and copy it, and it just doesn't work. But then, after I'd got frustrated, I remembered that I was going to do this by collage, look at using the different colours on different papers, and yeah, I realised I didn't actually need to draw in all the details because I was just going to be sticking over them anyway. So I got my paints, got out some new paper, and I'm just going to paint lots of blocks of colour that I can then cut up and draw on top of it afterwards, because it's going to be much easier that way. So let's get to painting, and this is actually a new day, so of course it has to start with a cup of tea. I've decided it's a law now. If I paint, I have a cup of tea. So I started by getting out my paint palette. Now, I've normally either used one of the kids' old plastic plates that they obviously don't use anymore, or those really cheap plastic paint palettes. But I actually invested in a proper ceramic palette and I absolutely love it. Like, you barely wash it at all and it comes up brand new. Just leave it in the sink with some water and then it's brilliant. Anyway, I started off by trying to mix a sand colour. Now, I didn't want any of this paint to go to waste, so I used this on a separate swatch page because then I could use it to cut out later if I wanted or in another project. I really wanted this sand to be not like a really bright sandy beach, because for me, you go rock pooling kind of when it's a bit windier, like when it's near the end of the summer holidays. I really wanted to get a nice sand texture, and where I've never used this before, I figure let's just experiment. So I tried doing like the crisscrossy kind of brush strokes and layering it up a bit. As you can see, it was drying quite quickly. I've never actually done this technique, but I really liked it because especially where you're using one colour, it's kind of drying as you're doing it. So some it applies on top of each other. But yeah, it just makes this one flat colour more interesting. Does it look like sand? I don't know, but I liked it. And I decided at this point that I'd basically done the sand already. So it will be a bit of photoshopping at the end just to layer everything on top. To be fair, it's probably for the best where I'm going to be cutting a lot out, sticking a lot and working on top of it. So it protects the back if I make any mistakes. So now I need to pick the colour for the sea and the rock pool, and this is where the swatches are really going to come in handy, as the perfect colour I need is going to be easy to find. I'm also going to take the white just in case I need to do any mixing and some blending of colours, because let's face it is going to be the sea. I do want the other colours in there. And especially where I don't want this to be a bright sunny day, I'm probably going to need some darker blues and maybe some greys in there, just to, set the tone and create a little bit of atmosphere without being too dark. And this I decided to test on my other swatch piece of paper because I didn't want to paint this big bit of sea when I didn't like how it was going to come out. So here I'm just using the blue and adding in the darker colours as I go, trying to create some sort of movement with the paint really, but I didn't want to do the crisscross texture because I'd use that for the sand, and I just wanted to mix it up a bit. And let's face it, definitely needed the practice because I have never blended this paint before. And it's been a while since I've blended gouache, especially to create some sort of sea with the really light and the really darks. So yeah, I also wanted to make sure that the sea did look a bit different to the rock pool watercolour, because obviously the rock pool should have more greys. Should it? I don't know. Anyway, I feel like it should. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I just went straight on to the bigger piece of work and started painting using all the different shades that I'd mixed to do the tests. And I did try and keep this a bit thicker with the paint just so it would leave some of that texture on there. And if I decide to add pencil over the top, it will really pick up on those textures and hopefully leave a nice texture. I mean, how many times can you say texture in one sentence? A lot, apparently. As you can see, I really enjoyed painting this and having an experiment with the blending because, I mean, I definitely painted more than I needed. Anyway, I decided to use up the paint just to make some more swatches, and I also experimented with adding water, more water on some and less on the other. And I also got out some different textured paper. I mean, you can't really tell, but I definitely did because I knew this would show differently when I worked on top of it with lots of different materials. I mean, I can't wait for that bit. But I still have to say, I found it really therapeutic just painting lots of lovely coloured squares and different shapes kind of on the paper because I didn't have to think. It was really mindful. Whether I use them or not, I'll still keep them for another project. And I'd highly recommend just painting lots of colourful squares and swatches when trying a new material because I really got to know about how to use it and the overall finish you can get. It was really nice to use, just so velvety is the perfect word to describe it. Okay, so it's another new day and I have moved to a new location. I've moved to my conservatory because, weekend, kids are home. So let's do this. Here is all the pieces and swatches that I painted earlier. And there's quite a few of them. I'm loving the colours of them though. So yeah, hopefully I can make some work from this. And I'm starting off with just laying the foundations and getting all the grey down and the rocks and the rock pool because then I can build on top of that. And the best thing is being able to pick between different colours and just lay them down next to each other just to see how it looks. And if I don't like how it looks, I don't have to use it. And until I've stuck it down, I can keep on taking off, removing and swapping things about until I'm entirely happy with it. Once the base of the rock pool was down, it meant I could add all the fun colours and all the little details. And I mean, these are tiny. It is a really good job that I have new precision scissors. Even so, I was still sat there wishing that I could find my Hobbycraft scalpel thing and, use that instead in a cutting mat because goodness me, I know I've cut out small things in the past, but I mean, tiny rocks and tiny shells. I mean, this really was a new level of difficulty for me and it felt like I needed to cut things out smaller and smaller. I mean, look how tiny those boots are. Can you imagine? Yeah, they were tricky and they kept flipping over. It was quite irritating, but I got there in the end. After many long deep breaths, I got there. And then I decided that I was just going to stick things down as I went because normally I kind of place it all and move it about. But with these little bits so small, I swear any time that I looked in its direction or moved my arm, they'd just move. So yeah, that definitely was the way forward on this one. Okay, so how long is it going to take me to put on this kid's shoes? I mean, this is literally like my children getting ready to go to school for the morning. You ask them to put their shoes on and suddenly they don't fit, they're uncomfy, or they pick up the wrong shoe. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. So yeah, I just kept cutting things out and adding them on where I thought the colours would be. And I really need to find a smaller glue stick. Do they do that? Like a kind of, I know they do things for glue dots to stick it down with diamond art, but there must be a really tiny kind of Pritt stick or something like that. I'm definitely going to look for that, because I think by this point glue is going everywhere but where I want it to be. Then it was time to come back to the character and work on that details, and only because I'd done everything else and I'd put off this character because of the shoes, and I don't know, I was frustrated, so I figured I would stop and just come back I would stop and just come back to her at the end, but you know, it's the end, so you can only put things off for so long. But on the upside, those frustrating boots were already cut out, so I could just literally stick them on. And then get on with sticking on lots of other little teeny tiny details. So if you couldn't tell before, this initially was really frustrating, getting all these small tiny stripes and all the other little details. But I mean, now I'm nearing the end. I really like how it's like imperfect. They say perfectly imperfect, but how the circles aren't quite circle. And yeah, I like the anomalies or the wrong bits and all the imperfections, because I personally think it makes it look unique, and I definitely couldn't copy this again. Definitely not. I'm not doing this again. And yes, this is me using tweezers on the glue stick because I thought it would help. It doesn't, but I thought it did at the time. And I also found out through this process that acrylic gouache, Pritt stick is no match for acrylic gouache, because let's face it, yes, I did kind of get Pritt stick where I didn't want, but it was fine to paint over it or just, take it off and the paint was still fine. So it is very durable. Here are the photos of kind of the base layers. We've got the sand with the lovely texture, and also we've got the kind of rock pool texture, which I wanted to make sure was a different texture than the sea, because, it's a different place. I have to say, I really am loving this acrylic gouache and exactly how you can work on top of it afterwards. Because with normal gouache, if you were to add wet media on top of it, it will kind of pick up some of the colour. So it's really fun having that matte effect, but it being really workable and durable to work on top of it. So yeah, I'm definitely going to keep going with this, and yeah, hopefully I'll use it again. I'm definitely going back to my comfort zone now, and I'm going to do the digital touches because I do work digitally in my normal day-to-day job. So it'll be really nice to see how this does combined with the traditional and the digital. So yeah, let's do it. Let's do those finishing touches. So I started off by kind of placing everything where I wanted, and this was easy because obviously I had it drawn before, but wasn't brave enough to paint the background, but that's neither here nor there. And then I added lots of pencil scribble texture to the top, just, because that's what I do. I add colours from around the picture and the colour palette back into the picture over the top of other colours, just because I find it makes it all go together and look more cohesive, which is what go together means. I then got straight on with working on the main character of the piece, just because I again, didn't paint it beforehand, and she needs a face. She needs a character. She needs hands. All of that would have been nearly impossible to cut out. I mean, all the other little bits were hard enough as it is. But just doing those bits in digital as well definitely means that it could sit in my portfolio better, because I do work digitally and I really want to work on combining it. I mean, that's half the reason I made this channel, is so I can practice my techniques. And if you guys ever want to learn with me, then you can. I never promise to know what I'm doing or even know slightly what I'm doing, but I have fun and we can make mistakes together, and maybe you can learn from my mistakes. But now it's time for our little crab that we named Colin earlier in this video to get his details. And I mean, he needs eyes, he needs a face, because he's supposed to be happy. There you go, that's better, but how is he feeling? Happy. Okay, so forgetting about Colin for a minute, working digitally on top of this acrylic gouache is lovely, because you've got those flat, bold colours exactly where you want them. And I don't know, they still have this painterly texture, and they take on the texture of the paper really well, which you can see, especially when you photograph it onto a digital screen, and then you can use digital to enhance it if you want, or if you don't want, that's fine too. At this point, it was really about just going in and adding those digital finishing touches, like extra dots and swirls to the seashell, and all the other little things like the small shadows. Yeah, I was just looking around the picture, winging it really, and adding bits in where I thought they should go. I mean, I could have done this for ages, but yeah, I got to the point where I was happy with it, and then I called it finished. I cannot believe what we came up with. Thank you so much for watching. I absolutely love this acrylic gouache, and I'd love to say I'm going to get some more, but I think I'm pretty stocked up for the moment. And as I've said that, I have actually ordered another lot to do another video, but you'll see that next time. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, every single one of you. Thank you so much. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and like with that button down below. And yeah, I will see you in the next one. Bye. To move some stuff around. I really need to sort my office out. Do you think that's something you'd like to see? Oh, here's a video that I think you'll like, and here's a video that YouTube thinks you'll like. Enjoy!